the doctor had said to Samina, "Do you know what you've done?"
It is a parent's worst nightmare, watching your 12-year-old's life spiral out of control.
She said, "Yes, but I just wanted to go to sleep for a few days. I just wanted it all to go away." And then she said to him, "Am I going to die?"
A life being destroyed by vicious online trolling.
To know that those videos were being shared, just imagine the corrosive effect that that must have had on her mental health.
A life in danger.
Paramedic said, "Blue light, Alder Hey, as fast as you can."
A family that couldn't get peace, even in death.
When a grave got trashed, it was like, why would you even do such a thing? Because it's disgusting and it's vile.
There's only so much. I can't. Sometimes I have to give up. Sorry.
This is the place where Samina, she grew up. It reminds me of Samina being here in a school uniform as she walked through the park.
She liked the birds, did she?
Yeah, do you know what we used to have here that she really loved was the peacock? We used to have a great big peacock here. It was here for years. She loved that bird.
Good morning, Lord. We praise your holy name and thank you for giving us this lovely new day.
Lovely.
Samina Halliwell grew up in Southport in Merseyside, the youngest of 3 children. Her parents split up shortly before she was born, but she sailed through her early childhood without a care in the world.
She was so beautiful. She was my everything. I enjoyed the fact that people used to tell her she was beautiful and that I could say, yes, she's my niece. She was a really, really kind-hearted person. She was a real people pleaser.
The only thing I don't miss about you is your beard. I don't miss your beard. You need to shave it off.
She was funny, kind. She had a smile that could light up her whole room. And she would always bring that energy with her. As soon as she would laugh, it was just so funny because it would just set everyone off because it was just so unique and different.
Because of her autism, she was very direct, but she had the ability, whether she realised it or not, but she had the ability to apply that directness with comic timing.
On Sunday the 16th of April, and if you don't know what that is, it is when Jesus was risen, so it's Easter Day. So Christmas. Okay.
She had little quirky things, you know, like she'd have a bath every single night of the week. After the bath, she'd have to wear socks and gloves all night till the morning because she didn't like the feel.
I remember her first Holy Communion, which is very special for all our kiddies, but particularly the girls, because they get to dress up. She was so happy that day. It was a wonderful day.
Very happy child. She had a really good relationship with all the staff at the school. Great friendship groups. There was never any problems. Never.
In the summer of 2020, in the midst of the pandemic, Samina left the comfort of her small primary school and moved to Stanley High, a large secondary school. New surroundings brought new friends and new pressures.
I noticed September, October time, she became really withdrawn, very moody, just a very unhappy child. And then, of course, the self-harming started, which was so out of character, because we've gone from a happy, bubbly little girl who's looking forward to starting high school, to being at high school, and then overnight has become withdrawn.
We were really worried for her because it was scary to see and witness, and because we're so young, like, you don't really know what to do.
Cuts, slashes from elbow to wrist and from thighs to knees. You don't go from being happy to self-harming. Something must have happened. Something is going on. Are you being bullied? Because that's the only thing I could relate to at the time. I thought, it can't be anything else.
Over the coming weeks, the family would learn the cause of Samina's distress. An older boy was sending her messages on social media, particularly Snapchat.
It started off as very friendly, and she'd obviously opened up to him because she'd never been sexually active before, and the messages led on to him wanting to be her first.
So he was love bombing her to start with, and then she didn't want to do what he was asking her to do, and so he was pressurising her in different ways. We now know that that ties in with her going quiet.
After weeks of messages, 12-year-old Samina finally agreed to meet the boy, who wasn't much older than her, in some woods close to her home. What happened that day would change everything.
She told me that she had been raped and not to tell anyone about it. So she was literally like my sister, so anything that was said between me and her, we always kept our secrets. And then I think it was about a week after, she ended up telling her mum.
I can't actually believe what she was telling me because it was so horrific. It was so horrific. Samina was a follower, and I could see how she was manipulated and led to what happened, because she was not a child who could stand up for herself and say no.
Despite telling her mum what had happened, Samina wasn't initially keen to report the incident to police, fearful of the consequences. A few days later, however, she self-harmed badly, and Rachel snapped. She decided to confront the boy and his family.
I went to speak to the mother. I'd never met her before. I went armed.
Rachel says there was a lot of shouting, and at one point, fearful the boy's mother was going to hit her, she picked up the baseball bat she'd brought with her and struck the mother.
I just picked the bat up and I hit her. I waited for the police and I was arrested. I pleaded guilty.
You pleaded guilty, and what did you get?
A suspended sentence.
Right, okay.
My sister's actions when she found out that Samina was raped, yeah, they're wrong. But how many parents would turn around and say that they weren't tempted to do that themselves?
Shortly afterwards, Samina changed her mind and decided she would tell Merseyside police what had happened in the woods a few weeks earlier.
She was really nervous about doing it, and she found it difficult to talk about. As any child or any woman who's been raped would find it harrowing and difficult to talk about. He asked her what had happened, and she told him, and he said, well, the thing is, it's going to be your word against his. and it's going to take 18 months to 2 years to go to court. Do you really want that hanging over your head? And if you do go ahead with this, I'm going to have to fill in X amount of forms. Well, afterwards she told me, well, they don't even believe me.
The law is clear that sexual activity with a child under 13 is an offence.
They're deemed not to have capacity to be able to consent to an intimate relationship. Therefore, in that instance, it shouldn't really be left down to that child to make that decision to whether to pursue that or not. It's too big a decision and a burden of responsibility to put on a child.
I was shocked at the behaviour of Merseyside Police, the detective. But in the end, he said to her, well, what do you want, Samina? And she says, well, I just wish it never happened. And he said, well, can't do anything about that. So what else do you want? And I was just so angry at the lack of empathy.
She started to feel let down. You could see it took an effect on her. And she started hanging out with new groups of people. She started drinking. She started smoking.
Merseyside Police said they had investigated the complaint appropriately. They say that Samina was spoken to by a specially trained officer and that the detective in charge told Samina that he had enough information to speak to the suspect, which the force subsequently did. As well as the police, Samina's mother turned to social services and other agencies for support, but they felt let down across the board.
The only people that were helping her were myself and her mum, and we weren't qualified. We'd never experienced this before, and we were begging everybody who was qualified to help, and they weren't listening.
Merseyside Police said that a multi-agency safeguarding referral had been made. As Samina weighed up whether to pursue a criminal charge, local teenagers with links to the boy turned on her.
She knew that the consequences of it would be her being bullied, which she was, beaten up, which she was 3 times, and her life to be made hell. Not just at school, but through the phone. And that never stops. Samina was jumped while they filmed it and put it on social media. When we were kids, if you were getting bullied at school, you went home, you closed the door and the bully stops. But not with social media, it carries on.
This case really shows clear systematic failures from Snapchat to proactively moderate its services. Just imagine the corrosive effect that must have had on her well-being and her mental health, to know that those videos were being shared, to know that, every time that she was getting a ping on her phone, that may well have been further abuse, further messages. It really is just a clear set of failures from the platform.
A Snapchat spokesperson said, "This is a tragic case and our hearts go out to Samina's family. We work in multiple ways to try to prevent and take action on this type of behaviour and regularly add new safety features to help make it difficult for predators to find and interact with young people on Snapchat." Everything seemed to be getting worse for Samina. The relentless online abuse, the beatings, deciding whether or not to prosecute. In June 2021, it all got too much. She took some of her mother's tablets up to her bedroom.
My eldest son found her. She was wide awake, talking, normal. You wouldn't think anything had happened. The ambulance came quickly.
I saw loads of ambulances and police cars there, and that's when I got told what had happened.
I got inside the ambulance. Paramedic was on the phone and she told them what Samina had taken, and he said, blue light, Alder Hey, as fast as you can. And at that point, when I realised how dangerous it was, I was doing everything I can to get her to be sick, to bring up these pills, but it was too late. Too late. If you've just been told, you know, the next 78 hours are so crucial and your child's organs are going to fail, your child's going to have a heart attack, you're looking at the doctor and you're thinking, what are you talking about? She was saying to me, Mum, I feel better now. Can we go home? But she's actually slowly dying. And there's nothing you can do. She's talking to me as normal, but she's wired up to all this machinery, and she's got around 15 doctors working on her. It was a parent's worst nightmare. The doctor had said to Samina, do you know what you've done? And she said, yes, but I just wanted to go to sleep for a few days. I just wanted it all to go away. And then she said to him, am I going to die?
Samina's slight, young body could take no more. 3 days after she took the overdose, the 12-year-old died at Alder Hey Hospital in Liverpool.
I called Rachel because I was just in so much disbelief and I thought it was just fake news. When I rang her, she said she's with the angels now. And I just remember breaking down into tears. We thought she was going to get through it because Samina was the girl to get through things and she wouldn't give up. Since that day, it's just, everything's been different.
What can you say in those moments when somebody so young has died?
Well, there's no script for it, really. There's no words you can try and grasp that will help people. For me, the way I would deal with it, I just speak from my heart. What's in my heart in that moment. So it was very emotional, very sad. She was a lovely young lady. You know, lovely, gentle little one she was.
As Samina's family and friends grappled with her sense of loss, her death brought no respite from the online abuse. Poison spewed from social media accounts, attacking both Samina and her mother.
I've had a lot of abuse on social media. They're always fake accounts, but it's the same thing.
Is that Nina, whatever name is? Dead, asleep.
I'm a bad mother. Samina's a slag. She deserved what she got. It was endless. Endless.
It was just horrible to see. There was always just something new. And it was like let her be, like she's gone, but yet it's still continuing.
We as a family have been victims to that social media bullying after losing Samina to the extent that you can't conceive. The fact that children know how to set up IP addresses that cannot be traced and use those to bully and coerce other children is shocking. Technology companies should be proactive in terms of making sure that anybody who opens an account has verified who they are. You know, I mean, that simple act would stop a lot of the toxicity on social media.
She was buried here. She just had a cross, a wooden cross, and there was loads of teddies and little gifts that had been put there. And somebody came to the grave to visit her, and when they got there, it was just covered in dog feces all over the grave.
The desecration occurred amid an onslaught of social media abuse. About a fortnight earlier, one post had explicitly called for the grave to be attacked.
When a grave got trashed, it was like, why would you even do such a thing? Because it's like it's just disgusting, it's vile, it shouldn't be happening.
I don't know what would make people do that. You need to understand that that isn't what this community is about. The vast majority of people would be just horrified at that. It would feel alien to us. So I don't know where people are coming from at all, and many people would echo my feelings about that.
The names are all there, or the pictures. So the proof is there, who did it, but nothing ever happened to them.
Samina's story highlights a litany of failures, shortcomings in how platforms look to identify grooming content, how they look to proactively identify and respond to bullying and harassment, and then bullying and harassment of her family in the most appalling circumstances after she died. Now, regulation can address lots of those risks. Unfortunately, the regulation that we have right now in the form of the Online Safety Act that is being implemented by Ofcom, it will make a difference, but it will not stop the sheer extent of harm that we saw in this case.
A Snapchat spokesperson said, "We have in-app warnings to let young people know if another user they don't share mutual friends with tries to contact them, and easy reporting tools so they can get help quickly. We continually strive towards creating a safer experience for our users." At the end of a 6-day inquest into Samina's death, the coroner concluded that Samina was a highly vulnerable young girl, in part due to her extensive phone use. She said that the 12-year-old had a complex social history who was in a state of distress when she took the tablets. But you say there was no evidence that any agency of the state, police, social services or her school were aware of any information that there was an immediate risk to Samina's life which could have prevented her death.
My long fight for accountability and justice for her will continue. I am feeling a deep range of emotions and enormous dissatisfaction that failures by the agencies involved in Samina's care have not been acknowledged. I believe it was as a consequence of these agencies' failures that my precious daughter is no longer with me. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
In response to the conclusion of the inquest, Merseyside Police said messages and videos recovered after Samina's tragic death disclosed that her concerns were with other matters and not the actions of the police. SEFT and Safeguarding Children Partnership welcomed the inquest findings and said they would continue to work to ensure the right level of support is available to children who need it.
It's such a big loss. When you think about losing someone, you don't realise how much it will affect you until it happens. And I've been through therapy for about 4 years, and it's such a big impact, from basically not having a worry in the world and always having someone to speak to, and because she was like my sister.
I can see her here, I can see her running, I can see her playing. I remember her on a bike going down there. We'd always go there and feed the ducks. the place that you go to is not nice, and it's like a fine line between being sane and going insane, if that makes sense.
I've got a memory box under here. And little bits of things that remind me of her. I've got a lock of her hair and her first shoes, her hair in there. Don't want to touch it too much because I don't want it to lose the smell of her.
You know, you can drive yourself mad going over and over and relive it and go over, well, what could I have done differently? You know, at the time, you know, I had a duty to protect her, and I did what I thought was the best to protect my daughter. And you know, I've gone back and I look at it and I think, no, I did do that right. I did reach out to that person. I did tell the school, I did tell the police, I did tell, you know, over and over and over again. I couldn't have done any more.